HOA Karen called the cops, claiming rights over my grandson's Lakeside cabin. The judge ordered her to pay $100,000 in damages. Ever had someone try to claim your family's property just because it looked too nice to belong to you? Because that's exactly what happened to my 15-year-old grandson, Sam, when Karen Overton, the bloated tyrant of the Ridgewater Lakes, HOA, decided his Lakeside cabin looked too out of place for non-membership property. Her words, not mine. It started one Saturday morning in June. I was out of town on a work trip, and Sam, who had earned the cabin through a trust left by my late brother, was spending the weekend fishing, sketching wildlife, and just being a quiet, creative kid like he always had been. It should have been peaceful, but then Karen saw him. And for Karen, peace is always a threat. Karen Overton, HOA president by self-appointment and dictatorship, had lived in the Ridgewater Lakes community for almost 8 years. She looked like she was forged from neighborhood complaint forms and garlic knots. She had no patience, no respect for boundaries, and no clue that the land surrounding the HOA wasn't her private empire. She spotted Sam through binoculars, standing barefoot on the dock of the cabin his cabin in, assumed the worst. No call to us. No knock on the door. She dialed 911. Hello. Yes, I'd like to report an unauthorized juvenile occupying a property adjacent to HOA lots. They appear to be trespassing in a structure that does not match community uniformity standards. Possibly squatting. Yes, she called my grandson a squatter. In a building he inherited. Sheriffs arrived 20 minutes later. Sam, shaken but polite, explained everything. Showed them the framed trust papers on the wall, the deed copy in the drawer, and even the cabin guest book where my late brother had handwritten Sam's name on the dedication page. The officers nodded, took photos, and said, "We'll talk to her." Karen, of course, doubled down. "This is clearly a forgery," she yelled. "I've never seen this cabin listed in any HOA development permit. There are no gutter alignment approvals, no deck compliance forms. It's a rogue structure." But twist number one? The cabin predated the HOA by 37 years. It was listed in county historical records. The HOA was literally built around it, and it had always remained outside their jurisdiction. That didn't stop Karen. 3 days later, she filed an official HOA reclamation claim with the county clerk, stating that the cabin had erroneously been excluded from HOA maps and was now being assumed into the Ridgewater property matrix. Yes, she tried to absorb the cabin like a territorial sponge. I got home to a notice nailed to the side of the cabin. HOA notice of assumed parcel integration. Please vacate unauthorized dwelling or remit compliance documents within 48 hours to avoid fine or structural assessment. Sam was still inside when he found it. He thought he was being evicted. He cried. That was the moment I snapped. You want twist number two? I'm not just a grandfather. I'm also an attorney. And this cabin? It wasn't just a summer retreat. It was landmarked under the state's Cultural Heritage Registry. Something Karen had clearly never bothered to look up before threatening legal seizure. So I filed. Not just a cease and desist, but a full civil suit against Karen Overton and the Ridgewater Lakes HOA Board for harassment, unlawful property claim, emotional distress against a minor, and willful misrepresentation of authority. They tried to dismiss. But once the county land office weighed in and confirmed Karen had not only overstepped boundaries, but also filed fraudulent annexation papers using forged maps, the judge said the magic words every HOA tyrant dreads. Let's go to trial. The trial date came faster than Karen expected. Maybe she thought we'd cave. Maybe she thought her HOA title gave her some kind of legal shield. But what she didn't count on, what she never saw coming, was just how many people she'd alienated over the years. The courtroom was packed, not just with neighbors, but with former HOA board members, residents from surrounding cabins, and even a local historian who'd written about my brother's cabin for the town's 75th anniversary. Karen showed up in a navy pantsuit that clung too tightly to her rage. She waddled up to the defense table, arms full of binders, like evidence could make up for truth. Her face, as always, was sour, judgy, like the world existed solely to ruin her porch view. She opened with her usual tactic, bluster. This cabin is a security threat. It's unregulated, unregistered, and its occupanta minor was unattended on community-adjacent land. We have every right to reclaim Ms. Zone property. The judge raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, the parcel is not, nor has it ever been, under HOA jurisdiction. The title has been held by the Thorne family since 1956. She flinched, but there's no active permit for the dock. The judge didn't even look up. It was built in 1962, before your HOA existed. Then I stood. I laid out everything calm, measured, and devastating. County deed in Sam's name. The historic registry listing. Photos of the cabin through the decades. Sam's written testimony about being scared by uniformed strangers questioning his right to exist on land his great-uncle built for him. Then came the knockout. Twist number 3. We called a witness. Margaret Connolly, former HOA secretary and Karen's longtime friend until, apparently, she wasn't. Margaret stepped up, cleared her throat, and dropped a manila envelope on the court table. In this folder, she said, are copies of HOA meeting notes Karen altered before submitting to the clerk's office. She added fake votes to authorize boundary extensions that were never discussed, let alone approved. Karen stood up. That's a lie. She's senile. Margaret didn't even blink. I'm a CPA, Karen. I keep receipts. And she had them. Emails, meeting transcripts, a printed HOA map with Karen's handwriting literally drawing a red line around the cabin and labeling it future HOA Annex Zone. The room fell silent. Karen sank in her chair, red-faced, mumbling. Her lawyer whispered something to her, probably along the lines of settle or suffer. But it was too late. The judge leaned forward and said, the court finds Karen Overton and the Ridgewater Lakes HOA guilty of fraudulent claims, intentional emotional distress inflicted upon a minor, and unlawful attempted seizure of private property. And then the hammer fell. $100,000 in damages, $20,000 for legal fees, $25,000 for punitive damages, $30,000 in compensation to Sam for emotional trauma, and another $25,000 paid directly to a historical preservation fund Karen had tried to erase with her fake maps. But the judge wasn't done. Furthermore, he said, Karen Overton is hereby barred from holding any HOA-related office, filing any property complaints with the county, or contacting the Thorne family in any capacity. Any violation will result in immediate contempt of court. Karen opened her mouth to protest, but the bailiff was already walking her out. Later that day, the Ridgewater Lakes HOA voted unanimously to dissolve the current board. A new leadership was elected, and the first motion passed was clear. No more land grabs. No more tyrants. No more Karens. As for Sam, that boy found peace again. The community came together and hosted a Lakeside event called Sam's Day. They planted a new tree next to the cabin. Kids painted wooden signs saying, "You belong here, and this cabin stays." And right beside the dock, we nailed a new plaque to the railing. Carved in oak, it reads, "Historic Thorne Cabin protected by family, law, and backbone." So now I leave you with one simple question. True or false? If something looks like it doesn't belong, does that mean you get to claim it? The end.